ನವೆಂಬರ್ ಒಳಗಾಗಿನೇ ಕಟ್ಟಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನೋಟಿಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಆ ಟೈಮ್ಗೆ. ಈಗ ಯಾವುದು ಹೊಸದು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಮೇಲ್ಪಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಈಗ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ PSU ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗೆ ಈ ತಿಂಗಳು ನಾವು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಹೋಗಿ ನಮ್ಮವರಿಗೆ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಝೋನಲ್ ಕಮಿಷನರ್, ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಕಮಿಷನರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಬೇಡ್ಕೊಂಡು, ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕೂಡ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ನೊಳಗಾಗಿ ಹಣ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಟ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು.
The contractor association people met me. They are requesting for bill, but the biggest problem is when BJP government was there, they have done overwork. In my department itself, more than 1,20,000 crore work is been going on. But I have a budget only for 16,000. In that 16,000, 5 to 6,000 only capital work can be done. We can release the funds for 5 to 6,000 crores, that's all. But on seniority, we are releasing it. But all small contractors have decided we will clear the bill immediately as early as possible.
See, BJP basically wasteful expenditure, anything wasteful, we are against it. Anything productive and constructive, we are for it.
The subject did figure in our meeting. Opinions were also expressed. Government will consider the suggestions made in the meeting. We may bring some legislation during this session. We will bring legislation regarding revision of salary because it is long time it is not done. The subject was mentioned saying that no facilities are provided, and speakers also mentioned to CM. CM said we will consider.
ये कांग्रेस का एक तरह से उनका एक स्ट्रैटेजी और या राहुल गांधी का पॉलिटिकल स्ट्रैटेजी कहिए, किसी हालत में कोई भी झूठ बोलकर वो सत्ता में आ जाते हैं. वो करप्शन का ऐसे लेवल पर लेके जा रहे हैं कि जो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स पहले कहते थे करप्शन, वो थक गए हैं कि सिद्धरामैया और DK शिवकुमार की सरकार में इतनी एक तरह से लेवल में करप्शन पहुंच गया है. आई हैव पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ पीपल कमिंग टू मी एंड टेलिंग मी हाउ 60-70% ऑफ द बिल that is owed to them by the government of Karnataka are being taken by as commissions by officers and ministers of the government of Karnataka. This is what is happening in Karnataka. This is why there is no money for development. This is why water tariffs, this is why electricity tariffs, this is why bus tariffs are increasing. This is why farmers are in distress in Karnataka.
Sudat, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more perspective. Sudat, while we see all of these demands coming to the fore from Karnataka Congress MLAs specifically, and the assurance coming in from the state government, over the recent 1 year, in the recent past, the taxpayer of Karnataka has had to shell out much more, and these are from basic necessities for, say, milk or tariff on water that's being mulled as well. So all of this luxury that seems to be coming in for the elected representatives, all of the cost is going to be borne by the taxpayer.
Definitely, this is definitely going to raise a lot of questions. You can see that several government offices, albeit given the fact that this has been there for several years, regardless of any party being in power, you can see that the Karnataka government seats of power, the Vidhana Saudha, the Vikas Saudha, the Raj Bhavan, and several PSU buildings as well, property tax worth several hundred crores which have been pending for years now. You can see that the government is struggling to pay the guarantees money accordingly every month. They are not able to make timely payments. While they say that they will rectify this does indicate that there is a degree of financial strain that the government is facing. Now you can also see that many MLAs have complained about how they are not getting enough funds for their constituency. You can see that contractors are now alleging that 32,000 crores worth of bills are pending, and commissions are also being demanded in excess, exceeding what the BJP tenure actually saw them facing. So they're facing more harassment during this tenure. So you can see that a lot of allegations coming under the Congress's way. They're facing far too many allegations which eventually point out it as some degree of fund crunch, as they're not able to release funds accordingly to all the programs and all the MLAs accordingly. So at such a time, when several luxuries are there in place, it definitely does raise questions. Why do the taxpayers have to bear the brunt of a recliner or massage chair that some senior legislator can avail the services of the Vidhan Sabha? Should that be a point of concern at all? Should that even be a motivation for a legislator to actually not be absent? The fact that he or she being in power is enough. They represent the people. That should be the motivating factor, not luxurious items in place so that they can catch a quick snooze at the Vidhan Sabha. And you see several such misplaced priorities perhaps that definitely raises questions. Of course it's fodder for the opposition as well, but it's an extremely wrong signal for the people of the state, because the taxpayers have to eventually bear the brunt of what all is taking place right now, while they still continue to complain about everyday problems like infrastructure and basic facilities.
Absolutely, and misplaced priorities of the state government is something that, irrespective of which party has been in power, that question has been raised specifically as far as civic issues in Bengaluru are concerned. That's something that the people of Bengaluru have been suffering from for a very long time. But this also comes at a time, Sudat, when we're going to be seeing the Chief Minister, who's also the Finance Minister of the state, present the budget later this week on Friday. That's when we'll get to know the extent of how much debt the state really is in, and can they actually afford all of these pledges?
Well, definitely, the Siddaramaya's budget this time around is going to be perhaps one of his most crucial budgets, because his last tenure saw a certain degree of stability, but his financial prudence has especially come into question this time around when the Congress has come to power, given that it has repeatedly faced attacks from the BJP, from the JDS over the implementation of the guarantees, about the fiscal prudence of actually having such programs in place which can have a great degree of financial strain on the exchequer. So a lot of questions coming under Siddaramaya's way. It's not just about the guarantees itself, in general about the priorities that they're placing under, about basic infrastructure issues that still ail Bengaluru. All this is something that definitely will be on CM Siddaramaya's mind when he presents his 16th budget on March 7th. While the GSDP of the state is growing and is expected to grow, and revenue collection too has gone up by a decent percentage, questions will still be raised about how the state will ensure that the debt does not exceed a certain limit and it does not go too much beyond 6 lakh crores, and how much they can actually mitigate the effect of debt, how they can allocate resources better and ensure that such misplaced priorities like recliners or several such wasteful projects which have been questioned by civic activists as well are not actually implemented. So all that will be something that CM Siddaramaiah faces. It's a daunting task when March 7th comes.
Right, Sudat, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. The political war of words, meanwhile, continues to escalate in the state of Karnataka. Let's listen into some of those reactions.
Some MLAs, they are requesting to hike salaries. They have to travel in their consciences, no? Sir? They have to travel in their consciences. Expenditure will be more. Whatever I get salaries, I will, since from beginning, I will give it to schools. See, all are not. You have club now, press people, you have club now. Like that, MLAs want club. To develop that club, government has given fund. You have club now, press people.
The BJP can say what they want. Actually, what they should be protesting about is how the central government is treating Karnataka. Now, again, in the devolution of funds, they are suggesting that from 41% it comes down to 40%. 1% subtraction from the funds will amount up to thousands of crores losses to Karnataka. What are they doing about it? What is the BJP stand on NEP here in southern states? What is BJP's stand with respect to delimitation processes that is happening? Why are you worried about a club that might happen or they will not happen or might happen? What is your priority? Your priority is constitution or constitutional club?
Shifting focus now to Maharashtra, where the controversy over SP Maharashtra Chief Abu Azmi has now triggered a controversy that echoed inside the State Assembly this afternoon as well. Now, Abu Azmi said that Aurangzeb was not cruel at all. In fact, he did save and build many temples. That has triggered a massive furor with the Deputy Chief Minister in the state, Mr. Eknath Shinde, coming out on the floor of the Assembly and demanding that investigation will be conducted against Abu Azmi because he has been a habitual offender as far as heaping insults on Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj is concerned and praising Aurangzeb goes. But Abu Azmi is not alone. One of his party colleagues also echoed that sentiment. Congress's Udit Raj too came out and said that there was nothing wrong in what Abu Azmi had said.
सब गलत हिस्ट्री दिखाई जा रही है। औरंगजेब रहमतुल्लाह अलैह ने बहुत सारी मंदिरें बनवाई हैं और आप बनारस में जाकर देखेंगे एक बच्ची, पंडित की बच्ची को जब उनका ही एक सिपाही सालार उसके साथ शादी करना चाहता था, उन्होंने उस सिपाही सालार को 2 हाथियों के बीच पैर बांध कर मार दिया और उन पंडितों ने उनके लिए एक मस्जिद बना के दिया वहाँ पर। क्या बात करते हैं, ये गलत हिस्ट्री।
तो आप औरंगजेब क्रूर शासक नहीं?
बिल्कुल नहीं, मैं बिल्कुल क्रूर शासन नहीं मानता।
औरंगजेब रहमतुल्लाह अलैह जो हैं उन्होंने मंदिर तोड़ी तो मस्जिद भी तोड़ी है उन्होंने। अगर वो हिंदू के खिलाफ होते तो 34% हिंदू उनके साथ नहीं रहते और उनका सिपाही सालार हिंदू नहीं रहता। देश जो है ना संविधान से चलेगा, सबको बोलने का हक है। मैं समझता हूं कि मैं जिंदगी में कभी भी ऐसा कोई स्टेटमेंट, ऐसा कोई दिल की गहराई में कभी बोल ही नहीं सकता हूं। इन महाराज के जो लोगों ने इस महाराष्ट्र में इतने बड़े बड़े काम किए, सारे धर्म के साथ, सारे इंसान के साथ बराबरी किए, इनके खिलाफ मैं बोलूं, मेरी हैसियत बोलने की कभी सोच भी नहीं सकता मैं। लेकिन अगर इसके बाद भी अगर किसी को ऐसा लगता है कि मैंने इस तरह की बातें बोली हैं और जिससे किसी को आहत हो रहा है, तो मैं अपने स्टेटमेंट को वापस लेता हूं।
अबू आझमी हे जाणीवपूर्वक शिवाजी महाराज आणि आपले धर्माभिमानी छत्रपती संभाजी महाराजांचा जाणीवपूर्वक अवमान करतात वारंवार, आणि म्हणून वारंवार करतात। या राजाचा अवमान करणं, या राजाचा अपमान करणं आणि या राजावर अत्याचार करणं, 40 दिवस डोळे काढले, डोळ्यांमध्ये शिगा घातल्या गरम लोखंडी, नख काढली, जीभ छाटली, अंगावरचे साल्टी सोडली, त्याच्यावर मीठ टाकलं। म्हणजे एवढं कौर्य, एवढं म्हणजे अमानवी कृत्य या औरंगजेबाने केलं। या औरंगजेब म्हणाले, अबू आझमी म्हणतात, या अशा औरंगजेबाला काय म्हणतात, कुशल प्रशासक, त्यांनी मंदिर बांधलं असं म्हणतात। काशी विश्वेश्वराचं मंदिर तोडलं, काशी विश्वेश्वराचं मंदिर, अनेक मंदिरं उद्ध्वस्त केली।
Yasha, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more perspective on this. Yasha, one of the things that a Deputy Chief Minister said inside the Assembly was that there will be an investigation. Because so far, all we've heard is the political war of words. But is the state government actually looking to go ahead and book Abu Azmi for the comments he's made?
In fact, Abu Azmi has already been charged with several sections of Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita at 2 police stations in Maharashtra. One is at Waghli Estate Police Station in Thane, the other one is at Marine Drive Police Station in Mumbai. At both of these places, there was a complaint that was filed by 2 leaders, one that is Naresh Maske and a spokesperson from Shiv Sena who have in fact filed this complaint against Abu Azmi, on the basis of which this FIR has already been filed. Of course, now the statement that has been made by the Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde on the floor of the House speaks about this statement that has been made by Abu Azmi, and which is why now he said that further be investigation and they try and they want the suspension of Abu Azmi as MLA. Now this is the demand that's come from not only Shiv Sena members but also members from BJP, because particularly when it comes to Abu Azmi, he went further to apologize for the statement that he made, stating that this was not what he was speaking about, was misconstrued by media, particularly because he was asked a question about comparing Rahul Gandhi and Aurangzeb, to which he made this very statement. But now, even after he has apologized for his statement and said and taken his words back, it is MLAs from High UT who had been protesting ever since this morning. In fact, Shiv Sena leaders also protested at several locations across the state against Abu Azmi's statement, who now demanded suspension of Abu Azmi as MLA. Yes.
Right, Yasha, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. It was all triggered by the film Chhawa, which is going to be seen by several within the government tomorrow as well. The protests echoed both inside and outside the assembly, and trouble seems to be mounting for Abu Azmi legally as well, since there are 2 FIRs that are now filed against him. Let's listen into some more reactions that have poured in so far.
छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज और छत्रपति संभाजी महाराज ये तो हमारा आराध्य दैवत है, और उनके जो एनिमीज थे, उनके जो शत्रु थे, उनका उदात्तीकरण करना ये निषेध करने वाली बात है। उसका निषेध हमने किया है। हमारे नेता एकनाथ शिंदे साहब ने जो स्पीच दिया है उसका हम समर्थन कर रहे हैं। वो डायरेक्टली इनडायरेक्टली छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज के और संभाजी महाराज के बारे में बयान है, तो वो सहन नहीं करेंगे कोई भी रहे। इसलिए हमारी मांग है कि उसको निलंबित किया जाए और उनके ऊपर देशद्रोह का गुना दाखिल किया जाए।
डिप्टी सीएम जो महाराष्ट्र के हैं, उनको इतिहास की जानकारी नहीं, और अगर इतिहास की जानकारी होती तो शायद इस तरह का बयान न देते। अबू हासिम का कोई ऐसा बयान नहीं रहा है जिसकी निंदा की जाए, और समाजवादी पार्टी तो हमेशा समाज को जोड़ने का काम करती है। जो टिप्पणी की है उसको ठीक से उप मुख्यमंत्री जो है नहीं समझ पाए, इसलिए वो इस तरह का अनर्गल बेबुनियादी बात कर रहे हैं।
समाजवादी पार्टी के नेता अबू आजमी और उसके उपरांत कांग्रेस पार्टी के नेता राशिद अल्वी और उदयराज जी के द्वारा अकारण अवांछित रूप से इतिहास के सबसे क्रूर और अत्याचारी शासकों में से एक औरंगजेब का महिमा मंडन संपूर्ण भारतीय समाज के लिए बहुत अपमान की बात है। इससे बात बहुत साफ हो गई है कि यह अपने इरेडिकेशन ऑफ सनातन धर्म अर्थात हिंदू धर्म के समूल नाश के अभियान में किसी भी सीमा और किसी भी निम्नता तक जाने को तैयार है। यह दर्शाता है कि यह भारतीय संस्कृति, भारतीय परंपरा से कितनी नफरत और हिकारत करते हैं।
एक विशेष धर्म के राजा को टारगेट करना, शासक को टारगेट करना के क्रूरता, ये उचित नहीं है। शासक किसी भी धर्म का हो, ज्यादातर क्रूर होते ही हैं। जब ही तो जनतांत्रिक प्रणाली लाई गई। अगर राजाओं का शासन ठीक होता तो डेमोक्रेसी का शासन न होता। तो क्रूरता से बचने के लिए न्याय, सबको न्याय मिले, इसीलिए तो गवर्नेंस सिस्टम। तो सवाल नहीं है कि एक विशेष धर्म का शासक ही क्रूर था, क्रूरता तो औरों में भी रही है।
महाराष्ट्र में आप विधायक बनकर विधिमंडल में जाकर जो 5-5 साल बैठते हैं ना, उस महाराष्ट्र के राजा सिर्फ छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज और संभाजी महाराज थे। हम लोगों ने तो इतिहास पढ़ा है, पर जिन्होंने पढ़ा नहीं है ना, तुम जैसे लोगों ने जाकर एक बार थिएटर में छावा पिक्चर देखनी चाहिए। महाराष्ट्र गवर्नमेंट से एक विनती करूंगी, औरंगाबाद का नाम जिस तरीके से बदलकर हमारे भगवान संभाजी महाराज के नाम पे रखा है, जल्द से जल्द जो कब्र औरंगाबाद में औरंगजेब की है वो उखाड़ के फेंक दीजिए, और जिसे इतनी प्यारी है वो अपने घर में जाके वो कब्र सजा लीजिए।
समाजवादी पार्टी के जो भी, चाहे आबू आजमी हों, चाहे उनके श्री अखिलेश यादव जी हों, चाहे उनके अन्य कोई नेता हों, इन सब के अंदर क्रूर मुगल शासक जिसे कहा जाता है, औरंगजेब की आत्मा घुस गई है। इस प्रकार के बयान को यह देश सहन नहीं कर सकता। छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज के अपमान को नहीं सहन कर सकता, और श्री अखिलेश यादव जी को तत्काल अपने जो सपा के विधायक हैं आबू आजमी के खिलाफ तत्काल कार्रवाई करना चाहिए।
मैं अगर कहूं तो मैं चिंतित हूं अपने देश की विमर्श को लेकर के। बेरोजगारी पे बात नहीं हो रही है। इतिहास के पन्नों में जाकर के, बासी पन्नों में जाकर के हम इतिहास में आज के लड़ने की वजह ढूंढ रहे हैं। कहां तक जाइएगा? हड़प्पा, मोहनजोदड़ो, वैदिक काल। चुनौतियां क्या है आज की? गरीबी, भूखमरी, आय की असमानता, कोई चर्चा नहीं।
Trouble seems to be mounting not just for Abu Azmi but for his son as well, even though it's an unrelated case. But Abu Azmi's son Farhan Azmi and 3 others have been booked in Goa. This is after an altercation in the Candolim area late last night is what we are given to understand. Abu Azmi's son allegedly threatened the crowd, stating that he had a licensed gun with him during a heated altercation with some locals. Preeti Sompura, my colleague, now joining us, getting us more details on this. Preeti, what more can you tell us about the incident? What exactly happened?
This evening the incident took place in Candolim.
We'll try and reconnect that line with my colleague Preeti there and get you more details. But what we can tell you right now is that Farhan Azmi and 3 others, 3 locals who were engaged in that altercation, have now been booked by Goa police after scuffle broke out over a lane-changing dispute late last night. This happened in the Candolim area in North Goa is what we're given to understand. Preeti, I believe, is now back with us. Yes, Preeti. Preeti, if you can hear me, if you could give us more details of what exactly transpired. We'll try and reconnect that line with my colleague Preeti, but for now, trouble seems to be mounting for Farhan Azmi and his father as well in 2 very unrelated cases. We'll keep a track of that and much more here on Nation at 5, but for now, it's time for a quick break.
MDH का kitchen. A pause on shipment of US military aid to Ukraine after his heated Oval Office argument with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky last week. Now, the halt in aid came after Trump held a series of meetings with top national security officials at the White House. Now, the pause will apply to all military equipment not yet inside Ukraine.
I think it takes 2 to tango, and you're going to have to make a deal with Russia, and you're going to have to make a deal with Ukraine. You're going to have the assent, and you're going to have the consent from the European nations, because I think that's important. And I think everybody has to get into a room, so to speak, and we have to make a deal. And the deal can be made very fast. It should not be that hard a deal to make. It could be made very fast. Now, maybe somebody doesn't want to make a deal. And if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long. I believe that Russia wants to make a deal. I believe certainly the people of Ukraine want to make a deal. They've suffered more than anybody else. Under President Bush, they got Georgia, right? Russia got Georgia. Under President Obama, they got a nice big submarine base, a nice big chunk of land where they have their submarines. You know that, right? Crimea. Under President Trump, they got nothing. And under President Biden, they tried to get the whole thing. They tried to get the whole big Ukraine, the whole thing. If I didn't get in here, they would have gotten the whole thing. I gave Russia nothing except grief. Well, I just think you should be more appreciative, because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin. We've given them much more than Europe, and Europe should have given more than us, because they were a lot smarter than Joe Biden, because Joe Biden didn't have a clue, and they should have been able to equalize with us. In other words, if we gave $1, they should have given. Well, we gave $350 billion. They probably gave 100, but on top of it all, they get their money back because they're doing it in the form of a loan, and it's a secured loan. I want all of those young people to stop being killed. I want to see it stop. The money is one thing, but the death, and they're losing thousands of soldiers.
Thank you for staying with us here on Nation at 5. News now coming in from Tamil Nadu, where Chief Minister M.K. Stalin had called for an all-party meeting over the delimitation exercise that is slated to be held tomorrow. The BJP has decided to boycott this entire exercise and the all-party meeting. In fact, my colleague Purnima spoke exclusively with Tamil Nadu BJP Chief K. Annamalai. Listen into that conversation.
So there is an all-party meeting on delimitation, sir. So there's an all-party meeting on delimitation. CM has urged all parties to come forward and join.
Madam, tomorrow the Tamil Nadu CM has called for an all-party meeting. Now this is first time a funniest all-party meeting, because nobody knows what is the agenda. Even when you go to a marriage, you will know the person who's getting married. But in this case, CM has imaginarily called for an all-party meeting. It only shows his fear. He is not discussing any issue that is affecting a common man. He wants to talk about arbitrary issues. No central government representative has spoken about delimitation. In fact, Amit Shah ji has clearly spoken, it is pro rata basis. And our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has said it is not based on population, not on the Congress model. When everything is spoken, they assume that it is based on population. Who said 848 seats? CM assumes 848 seats. Who said Tamil Nadu is losing 12? With this imaginary fears, is calling for an all-party meeting without an agenda. Why should we waste our time by attending that meeting when you have already clarified, when the Honorable Home Minister has clarified? So Tamil Nadu CM has to rise above these petty political things and start focusing on his governance. Thank you, Anna. Thank you.
Purnima there speaking with K. Annamalai, the Tamil Nadu BJP chief, who made it very clear that this is nothing but a misrepresentation of facts by the state chief minister, who's called for this all-party meeting tomorrow. There are several issues that the chief minister and the DMK has raised against the centre. The delimitation one, of course, is a key issue, but the three-language policy, the national education policy that's not implemented in the state, is another reason why both the DMK and the BJP-led central government are at loggerheads with each other. All of that is expected to be raked up and discussed in the all-party meeting tomorrow. While the AIA-DMK has said that they are going to be a part of it, the BJP there categorically saying that they will boycott this particular meeting. Purnima, my colleague, now joining us, getting us more on this. Purnima, you spoke with the Tamil Nadu BJP chief as well. They are very clear that this is nothing but a misinformation campaign by the state government as far as the delimitation exercise goes.
Absolutely. The BJP time and again has reiterated that both the Prime Minister and the Home Minister have made it clear that delimitation is not going to impact states like Tamil Nadu, and also says that this is being used as a diversionary tactic by the DMK, because considering the increase in crime against students and children and women, instead of focusing on better governance, why is the DMK now trying to talk about delimitation? Who wants to bring in delimitation? And while Prime Minister Annamalai said, has made it clear that it is not linked to population, the number of people, why is the DMK now trying to create fear and panic among the people? Let's have an all-party meeting on the law and order situation. That's the word that's coming in from the BJP. The BJP, remember, tomorrow will not be attending the all-party meeting on delimitation, whereas sources have confirmed that the AIA-DMK will be attending. Tamaraga Vetri Karagam, founded by actor Turn Vijay, will also be attending the meeting. 40 parties have been invited for the meeting, so all eyes on what really pans out during the meeting, but the BJP making it clear that that no one should waste the time on this all-party meeting, because delimitation exercise is not going to impact Tamil Nadu like the way the DMK is portraying it to be.
Right, Purnima, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. Shifting focus now to Sambhal in Uttar Pradesh, where, if you recollect, violence broke out during a court-mandated survey of the Jama Masjid there, post which several allegations were made from both sides. Today, that case was back in court, and the Allahabad High Court has officially recorded the Sambhal Jama Masjid as a disputed site. This after the Hindu side lawyer came out and said that this is a big victory as far as the fight for that particular government land is concerned. Remember, there was a court-monitored, the court-ordered survey that was undertaken in November, where violence broke out. In fact, Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath, spoke about this issue in the State Assembly as well, only for his rivals to target the BJP further.
जब 26 फरवरी को संभल में 56 वर्षों के बाद शिव मंदिर में जलाभिषेक का कार्यक्रम भी हो रहा था, अकेले संभल में 67 तीर्थ थे और 19 कूप भी थे, जिनको एक शरारत के तहत एक निश्चित समय के अंदर समाप्त कर दिया गया, और जिनमें से 68 तीर्थों में से 54 तीर्थों को ढूंढना, ये तो हमारी विरासत का हिस्सा है और हमने तो वही किया है। हमने तो वही कहा है कि जो हमारा है वो हमें मिल जाना चाहिए। हम उससे इतर कहीं नहीं जा रहे हैं, उससे इतर कहीं नहीं। और 19 जो कूप हैं उन्हें भी मुक्त कराया गया। सच कड़वा होता है और उस कड़वे सच को स्वीकार करने की सामर्थ्य भी होनी चाहिए।
19 नवंबर 2024 का जो सिविल जज सीनियर डिवीजन चंदौसी साहब का ऑर्डर है, जिससे एडवोकेट कमिश्नर की नियुक्ति की गई थी, इस आदेश को वहां की मॉस्क कमेटी ने ऑनरेबल इलाहाबाद हाईकोर्ट में सिविल डिवीजन के द्वारा चैलेंज किया। इस चैलेंज के दौरान मॉस्क कमेटी ने करेक्शन एप्लीकेशन फाइल की, जिसमें उन्होंने कहा कि ये जामा मस्जिद है, किसी का कहना है कि ये जुम्मा मस्जिद है, किसी का कहना है कि ये जामी मस्जिद है। तो ये बात आज ऑनरेबल इलाहाबाद हाईकोर्ट के सामने आई थी। उस दौरान हमारे जो सीनियर हरिशंकर जैन साहब, उन्होंने पॉइंट आउट किया कि जब तक ये सिविल डिवीजन फाइनली डिसाइड नहीं हो जाता है, तब तक ऑनरेबल इलाहाबाद हाईकोर्ट इसे मॉस्क के रूप में ना प्रयोग करे, उसको डिस्प्यूटेड स्ट्रक्चर के रूप में कहा जाए। और मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं कि राम मंदिर बाबरी मस्जिद के केस में भी जब वो 70 साल केस चला तो उसको डिस्प्यूटेड स्ट्रक्चर के रूप में ही टर्म किया जाता था। जब तक कोर्ट इसको फाइनली डिसाइड नहीं कर देता है, तब तक इस एरिया को विवादित स्ट्रक्चर, डिस्प्यूटेड स्ट्रक्चर के रूप में ही कहा जाता है।
देखिए, भी सुनवाई जारी है और 4-5 दिन बाद उसकी पेशी है, तो इसलिए पहले से कोई विचार बना लेना कि किसकी जीत है किसकी हार है, ये उचित नहीं है। जो भी साक्ष्य जो भी प्रस्तुत कर देता है, न्यायालय उसके अनुसार अपना निर्णय देता है। तो सबके पास मौका है, सभी पक्ष जो है अपना, अगर उनके पास कोई साक्ष्य है तो प्रस्तुत करना चाहिए उनको।
That why have you disputed the 1927 agreement which was signed between the Muslim side and government of India?
No, madam, it is one-sided version. Why we should accept? It is still to be proved whether there was any agreement, whether this agreement is in regard to this property itself. And number 3, suppose there was an agreement. So the agreement has lost its importance after the enforcement of 1930. They are covered. Now it is not being governed by old act. And notification or agreement, if any, has to be entered into, has to be executed within the premise of this act, new act. It was under old act, that is Ancient Monument Act 1904. And this is governed presently by new act, that is MSAR Act, Ancient Monuments Act 1958. And 1958 applies only to those monuments which are declared of national importance. And a new notification or new agreement has to be entered into. The old agreement will not do anything. Number 1. Number 2, it is highly disputed whether there is agreement in regard to this property itself. It is also one of the questions, whether it is Jami Masjid or Jama Masjid.
All right.
It is for Jama Masjid, where it is actually Jami Masjid. Jama Masjid is at the distance of about 5 kilometers from this place. All these are disputed questions. And that agreement does not give any right.
Ananya, my colleague, now joins us to get us more perspective on this. Ananya, if you could put this in context for our viewers, why exactly today's hearing was significant in this entire case? Ananya? We'll try and reconnect that line with my colleague Ananya there. But as far as the Allahabad High Court is concerned, they've come out and said that this particular structure will be referred to as a disputed site until any further orders are passed by the court. Remember, this legal battle has been going on for a while, especially after the violence that broke out in Sambhal in Uttar Pradesh, when that court-ordered, court-monitored survey was being conducted in November. Ananya, I believe, is now back with us. Ananya, like we were discussing, that this court order has now come to the fore from the High Court. That legal battle has been going on for some time now. But if you could put it in context for our viewers of why exactly this is significant to the entire legal battle.
Well, definitely, it's a very, very crucial matter as far as Sambhal is concerned. And if you remember that today the Allahabad High Court, after in fact objection from Mr. Harishankar Jain, it's very categorically noted that particular site as a disputed site after there was an objection raised by Mr. Harishankar Jain, who was appearing for the Hindu plaintiffs in this particular matter. Not only that, the Archaeological Survey of India has sought some time, in fact, in order to in fact file a response as far as the prayer for in fact the renovation of the particular mosque is concerned, and very categorically the ASI would be filing a detailed reply as to whether or not there is in fact a renovation that is required at that particular place of worship or not. And very categorically, the Hindu side has also opposed the 1927 agreement between the Masjid Committee and, in fact, the central government as far as the maintenance of that particular structure is concerned. But what happens next on the 10th of March? What would the ASI say as far as the renovation is concerned is something that only time can tell us. But at this particular point of time, the Allahabad High Court noting it as a disputed site is something that is of a lot of value.
Right, do keep a track of what transpires in court from here on. But for the moment, Ananya, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. We're shifting our focus back to the controversy that erupted in Maharashtra by the Samajwadi Party's Maharashtra chief Abu Azmi, who came out and said that Aurangzeb was not a cruel leader at all. In fact, he was an able administrator, somebody who built temples and not destroyed them. This is distorted history, is what he came out and said. That, of course, predictably has triggered a massive furor in Maharashtra and elsewhere. In fact, joining us live now is BJP's Madhvi Lata. Thank you so much, ma'am, for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Your first reaction to what Abu Azmi has said?
See, I would say that in any case it's very clear and very crisp that Abu Azmi ji has become blind. But what is very important, that entire nation would want to tell him that now anybody for whatever the selfish needs or selfish interest would now come up with hide the facts and truths of the brutal history that has went over on Indians or Bharatiya. We're not going to keep quiet. I appreciate Abu Azmi for giving us this opportunity to tell him categorically that no more praising of Mughals and Mughal emperors. It is a very categorical statement that I would want to pass to Abu Azmi ji also. The reason why I am saying ji is that is the basic culture that we Hindus carry with ourselves. I would want to tell him that the Fatwa Alamgiri is the one brutal writings which has been written where the women in Islam has been put to the most disrespectful form. Is this administration? What is jizya law, which has been abolished by Akbar himself as a Mughal emperor? You brought it back. What has happened under that? Under that, Hindus were penalized, were put to very severe punishments, and to the extent that they had to convert themselves to Islam because of the poverty that was thrown onto them. You think this is an administration? What is not hidden? The Kashi temple, the Mathura temple, and many such temples in South and the Deccan part of the India. They have been brutally broken up. What is this? And even the Razakar movement, from where these people come, even these were no kings. They were like Subedars during his time. They were those part of the military which helped him to conquer different parts of the Bharat, have been just given like that out of gift, and who under the training of Aurangzeb have continued to be brutal even in Telangana. And you want to tell this is administration? What not Aurangzeb has done? He has beheaded many Sikh leaders and gurus, and you want to talk this as an administration? In fact, he has introduced the Sharia law to the extent that the legal courts were not run by the king, but under Aurangzeb they were run by the religious heads. Even today in the Middle East, countries like Dubai have understood the intensities of Sharia law and wanted to bring democratization, and they have mellowed down on many things, on even the punishment mode. And they wanted to extend the hand of,
But ma'am, why do you think then, what do you think explains this kind of comment that comes to the fore? He's a leader who comes from Maharashtra. The state and many of its leaders have come out and, pointed out the kind of excesses that were conducted under Aurangzeb on Maratha rulers. He also comes from a party that comes from Uttar Pradesh, where the Kashi Vishwanath temple was demolished by Aurangzeb. And yet we have no word coming in from his party chief or anybody else even within his alliance.
Obviously, because these are the regional parties who have always been surviving because of the nourishment given by Congress government. And what is Congress government end of the day? I would just want to question entire nation today. What kind of a social textbooks did we have? Under the HRD Ministry of Congress regime, please tell me, ever were we introduced the brutal activities done by Aurangzeb or Tipu Sultan for that matter? No, never. And with whom did they do friendship? They always do friendship with the people who have supported the brutality, whether it is MIM who calls themselves a Razakar, next extinction. They have friendship with them. Whether it is Samajwadi Party, That is the reason today, neither because, I'll just have a very small example. When Jodha Akbar movie was taken out, none of these people have ever appreciated the Hindu director who has come up with such a beautiful movie. But when there is a movie taken on Dharmavir Sambhaji Maharaj, their blood starts boiling. What the hell are you? Who the hell are you? You want to live on this land of Bharat? You want to eat our food? You want to make your politics here? You want to make your vote bank here? And end of the day, you would want to again praise and stand by those brutal rulers, Mughal rulers, who have destroyed this nation, torn apart this nation. This is a time that such people should be answered, not just by words. And I appreciate Eknath Shinde ji. Good that he wants to go forward to take a legal action on him. It's high time. It's high time, Purnima ji. Our patience is being tested again and again and again and again. And we are not going to keep quiet for this. We are not going to keep quiet for this. Because it's not about Hindu Muslims. It is about your selfish vote bank. Just to please a small group. They just want to talk whatever comes to them. Let us people be abandoned from everything. And people should take this call. People should abandon such people. Such leaders, I would say.
And that's something that the people of the country will decide. The furor politically, of course, continues on the sidelines. But Madhvilata, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18 and sharing your perspective.
Thank you.
We'll keep a track of what transpires in this entire saga. But for now, we are shifting focus to Oscars and what transpired. Now, even though they concluded yesterday, the fervor of Oscars continues, especially on social media. Even today, the talk about several of the movies that dominated, like Dune Part 2. In fact, here on The Breakfast Club on CNN News 18, we spoke to someone who was closely associated with Dune Part 2. In fact, took home the Oscars as well. Listen in to that exclusive conversation.
Very, very special guest here on CNN News 18. Namit Malhotra is the CEO of DNEG. He joins us this morning to tell us a little bit more. Namit, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on your win. It was really, really lovely actually to read some of your interviews in the run-up in the last few weeks to see that, you were confident. There did seem to be a sense that Dune 2 would clinch this win. Can you just walk us through what it takes to create everything we see in something like Dune Part 2, something like the sandworms, something we couldn't have imagined? Walk us through the steps involved right from the storyboard to actually seeing it well, not in real life, but as we see it.
Oh, it's great to be here, and it is an incredibly exciting time. I think it's fair to say that as an Indian company now, we've had 7 Oscar wins in the last 10 years, which I think is a sort of record in itself in the world, even though we've won 8 totally. But, to say that we won 7 Oscars in 10 years is a pretty, heartwarming feat, and so that is absolutely gratifying. I think, Dune, in terms of its standard of, storytelling, the way it integrates cinematography, production design, visual effects, special effects, and into a very immersive narrative, is really at the heart of why it's so unique. In fact, when the Dune Part 1 had got the Oscar, I had spoken to people and said, there will be a conversation in our industry that says life before Dune and after Dune, because we had already managed to create such a great standard in that seamless storytelling, where you actually feel like you've transported yourself in that world and you're experiencing it. The question around how those sandworms and those are created, I think it always starts with the vision of the director. Without that, frankly, there is no filmmaking, there is no film. So Denis' vision is absolutely breathtaking. It's our 3rd Oscar with him, and what we've had consistently in all our interactions with him is someone who comes with a very clear imagination of what he's trying to create and how it really embodies itself into the story. And what that basically then starts to do is it starts to put all the various creative departments at work, where we work incredibly collaboratively. There's a lot of R&D, there's a lot of testing that happens in terms of how that interaction of the sandworm will happen with the environment. What kind of light are we sort of looking at? What sort of characters are going to be experiencing when they're on that sandworm? So there's a lot of detail that goes into construction on each and every frame that you see. And that's why you get to see such a breathtaking output.
On that note, slipping into a quick break here on this edition, but news and updates continue on CNN News 18. Don't go anywhere.
Brought to you by
A pause on shipment of US military aid to Ukraine after his heated Oval Office argument with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky last week. Now, the halt in aid came after Trump held a series of meetings with top national security officials at the White House. Now, the pause will apply to all military equipment not yet inside Ukraine.
I think it takes two to tango, and you're going to have to make a deal with Russia, and you're going to have to make a deal with Ukraine. You're going to have the assent, and you're going to have the consent from the European nations, because I think that's important. And I think everybody has to get into a room, so to speak, and we have to make a deal. And the deal can be made very fast. It should not be that hard a deal to make. It could be made very fast. Now, maybe somebody doesn't want to make a deal, and if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long. I believe that Russia wants to make a deal. I believe certainly the people of Ukraine want to make a deal. They've suffered more than anybody else. Under President Bush, they got Georgia, right? Russia got Georgia. Under President Obama, they got a nice big submarine base, a nice big chunk of land where they have their submarines. You know that, right? Crimea. Under President Trump, they got nothing. And under President Biden, they tried to get the whole thing. They tried to get the whole big Ukraine, the whole thing. If I didn't get in here, they would have gotten the whole thing. I gave Russia nothing except grief. Well, I just think you should be more appreciative, because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin. We've given them much more than Europe, and Europe should have given more than us, because they were a lot smarter than Joe Biden, because Joe Biden didn't have a clue, and they should have been able to equalize with us. In other words, if we gave $1, they should have given. Well, we gave $350 billion. They probably gave 100, but on top of it all, they get their money back because they're doing it in the form of a loan, and it's a secured loan. I want all of those young people to stop being killed. I want to see it stop. The money is one thing, but the death, and they're losing thousands of soldiers a week.
All right, I'm now joined by CNN News 18's Akansha Swaroop on this broadcast. Akansha, big decision by United States at this point, but also not surprising, because after the fist, we have seen the kind of furious argument that took place in the Oval Office. It was very much expected that this is going to be the decision that will be taken soon by United States.
Right, and there's been a fresh spat again, a fresh war of words, Sharon, which we must inform our viewers about, because Donald Trump took to Truth Social some hours ago, where he's referred to Volodymyr Zelensky's recent comments post the conclusion of that EU summit that took place, which was hosted by Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of UK in London. And he's referred to those statements of Volodymyr Zelensky, where he said that
Donald Trump, the US president, has acted on his tariff threats, especially against Canada, Mexico and China. But that has now triggered a flurry of reactions, not just from these three countries, but from others as well. But as far as China is concerned, they've already put in place retaliatory tariffs against the United States, at least 15% on certain imports coming in from America. Mexico is mulling a plan B as well. Canada, remember, in the past has already announced retaliatory tariffs if these tariffs were to hit them. And now that they have come into effect, are we looking at the entire world order, or at least business is concerned, that is going to be upended? That's something that markets are fearing, which is why we've seen a tumble in the American markets. Effect was seen here on the Indian markets as well.
Is there any room left for Canada and Mexico to make a deal before midnight? And should we expect those Chinese tariffs, the extra 10%, to take effect?
No room
tomorrow?
left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
We are willing to resolve international concerns through dialogue and consultation with the U.S. on the basis of mutual respect, equality, and reciprocity. However, we will never accept pressure or threats and will firmly safeguard our national sovereignty, security, and development interests. We hope the U.S. will work together with China to implement the important consensus reached by the two heads of state and return to the path of resolving issues through dialogue and consultation.
Days after the fistfight or the clash that we saw at the Oval Office when Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with US President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance, now the United States has decided to cut all aid to Ukraine. He says we've been paying billions of dollars of taxpayer money and there's nothing coming in return. He also asked Europe to step up. But this has now triggered catastrophe, say many within Ukraine. Of course, it was this decision was hailed by Kremlin. The Russian side came and said that this bold move perhaps is the first step in the right direction of ensuring peace.
European leaders are rallying around Zelensky, with London playing host over the weekend to 18 top European leaders who met in an emergency session chaired by British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. It was co-chaired by French President Emmanuel Macron. All European leaders who were part of the meeting have rallied support for Ukraine.
Can Ukraine win the war without America, Mr. President?
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said that this is a crucial moment for European security. He urged all European countries to increase their support for Ukraine. Zelensky received a hero's welcome with loud cheers in the streets. He even got a private audience with the British monarch, King Charles III. Recently, Starmer had pledged to increase military spending in Britain to 2.5% of GDP by 2027. Other European countries are also likely to follow suit. The Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala has said that European countries need to increase their defense spending to at least 3% of GDP. Right now, most European countries spend less than 2% of GDP on defense. All leaders who were present there have pledged to increase their respective countries' defense spending. Macron has been talking about a common and joint European army to defend Europe's interests. The unsaid part is that for far too long, Europe has depended on America to take care of its security. No more. Certainly not with Trump in the White House. The UK and France have agreed to work on a plan which will stop the fighting, and this plan will later be discussed with the United States. Some European countries are willing to send peacekeeping troops to Ukraine to enforce a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine. But they need the United States to provide military support in case Russia violates the agreement, which is why Zelensky has been insisting on security guarantees. Trump, on the other hand, has said he's loath to giving these security guarantees and that he trusts Putin to honor any agreement that is arrived at. Europe could release about $200 billion in seized Russian assets. It could help liquidate this fund and use that money to fund Ukraine's continued war effort. Since Russia's invasion in February 2022, the United States Congress has appropriated more than $180 billion to Ukraine. Of that, over $65 billion is in military aid, which has already been sent to Ukraine. An additional almost $4 billion have been authorized by the US Congress, but it's not been spent by Ukraine on the battlefield. About $58 billion of the total aid was spent in the US itself, and that boosts the American defense industry. It is clear that without American funding, particularly military funding, Ukraine will find it difficult to continue the war beyond the next few months. In fact, it could likely end as early as this coming summer. Europe might temporarily try to bridge the gap, but even Starmer and Macron realize that without America, Ukraine's war is pretty much over, and it will allow Putin to declare victory. What they are hoping to convince Trump is that Putin doesn't feel emboldened again to attack Ukraine. And in this, they're hoping to rally not just their European partners, but also hope that Donald Trump will see sense in this plan.
Getting your news from the entertainment world now. Sanya Malhotra starrer Mrs. That film has garnered sharp reactions both at the box office, also on social media. Netizens have been talking about the kind of portrayal that we see of a typical Indian family in that film. Now, the producer of the film, Harman Baweja, has now opened up over what exactly was the intention behind this film and if the response that has come in these last weeks is apt. I'll leave you with that conversation.
On one hand, while we are talking about all of this,
there's a certain men's right group. You read what they had to say, that apparently the film tries to push a narrative about toxic feminism. What do you have to say about that? Is it infuriating?
No, I think I'm way past the infuriating stage in life. It'll take a lot to infuriate me. But no, I think, see, I feel that, maybe that section of men are probably looking at this film in isolation and saying this is the exact representation of all men, right? Which is not necessarily the truth, right? If I see any film about a certain incident or about two characters and one is male, one is female, I can't say that, oh, you're saying all men are like this and all women are like this. We're a country of over 1 billion people. I can guarantee you, two brothers growing up in the same house can get married to two sisters and their individual house will be very different.
Sure.
Right? Growing up in the same house, they would be very different. Their reactions to situations would be different. That's how we are. We are very unique individuals. Every house is unique, and we know that, right? You go to your Masi's house and even she could be your neighbor and it'll be a whole different world. The fragrance of the house would be different. The kind of food, the way it's served, the etiquettes, everything alters. So I think it's important to look at the film, not in isolation and say, oh, so this is what you're saying about every woman. I think, somewhere underneath that, you need to understand that, this is that woman's story, but a lot of women relate to parts of this film. Some may relate to a large part of the film, some may relate to one part of the film, and then there may be those, I would consider them who belong to probably very, very evolved or maybe blessed, who don't relate to the film but understand the film because they've seen it either with their mother or their sister or their friend, So I feel that's the lens one needs to view the film with, yeah.
But to actually say that it's unfair for men to come back from work and haath batao when the ghar ka kaam, that's a little unfair.
I'll tell you, I have a perspective on this as well, like the billion other people around me in this world, right, in this country. So I think what the film, the essence of what the film is trying to say, and is probably saying, but of course it's so nuanced, is you have to respect each other for what we bring to the table, right? We got to respect that. If I am married today, I absolutely love and respect my wife, and I'm pretty sure she loves and respects me for what I bring to the table, right? We've just had 2 kids, right? So her hands are full. She's also, a health coach. She is managing those calls, right? And if I have to kind of come in at some points to make sure that if she's got 3 calls back to back, and if I have to kind of sit in, I'm happy to